What unimpressive things are people idiotically proud of? Missing breaks at work for a company that wouldn't care if they died the next day. Not eating any vegetables. Known a few people state it as if it's some kind of achievement, giving themselves constipation. I'm not a rabbit, maybe not, but you're an idiot. Had a couple of younger classmates at university who were like that and said that exact thing. 19 years old. Made most of their choices based on what seemed manly or affirmed their newfound independence. For example, was cloudy as F and supposed to rain one day. One of them refused to bring an umbrella because his mom had told him he should. His words. He got soaked when it started raining and still tried to argue that this was the best possible outcome. I remember when I first went to college like 20 years ago, I spent the first 3 weeks eating nothing but garbage junk food because I wasn't at my mom's house and could. I remember after a few weeks I woke up one day and was like, Jesus, I need a salad, and for 3 weeks ate nothing but veggies. After that I found my groove and ate balanced meals. Going into work while sick. Had a coworker who bragged on social media about having strep throat, but was still working because she values hard work. We were hairstylists. I avoided her afterwards, but came down with strep less than a week later. Risking the health of other people isn't a bragging right. Edit. Strep. Not strep. Edit 2. I would also like to add that if you're stuck at a job where you have no choice but to go in, even when you're severely ill, because your manager is a shithead. I get it. I've been in that situation and it sucks. However, working while you're ill and spreading a bacterial infection is not the wholesome, feel-good moment that my coworker thought it was. And she mocked other stylists when they called in sick. She took it to an extremely toxic level. And all because she wanted to impress a manager who forgot her name not even a month after she quit. Edit 3. Strep throat is a bacterial infection. I called it a virus earlier. My bad. Current affairs. Find out that coughing boss comes into work. Then half the team ultimately goes out sick a few days later due to COVID, and the boss starts bitching about manpower. All because they just didn't stay the F home in the first place. My boss came in with fucking COVID. Got half the department sick, and then had the balls to complain about being short-handed. She even went to a birthday party after work, got a mom and her kid sick, and now she's getting tore apart on Facebook. Lol. She said offhand to me, well, the majority of people survive it, and I replied, why even take the risk at all? Straight up psychopathy. Imagine saying I drive drunk because the majority of people survive it. I find putting people's ridiculous statements in a context everyone can identify with makes that person pretty pissed off because it exposes it as completely bullshit. Drinking a lot. I know people, grown-up people in their late 20s, who will brag about partying out on their lawns because they couldn't make it from the car to the front door. Horrifying that they drive like that. After spending some time in sea, I found out how terrifyingly normal it is for many people to drive drunk. A friend almost killed himself while his pregnant wife was at home waiting for him, and he was arguing that it didn't have to do anything with the bottle of whiskey he drank, and it was the rain. A year earlier his cousin killed herself driving drunk, and he keeps talking about how horrifying her body looked, but still didn't see it as a reason to stop. Seattle or Southeast Asia? I once had a coworker brag about how dark his pee is. My kidneys ain't been working right for 8 to 10 years, bro. Bro, I am so dehydrated because water is for pussies. I was working in the hood and talking to this older guy on his bicycle. He said he can't drink water around people because he'll lose his street kid. Man, you are a 60-year-old who roams the streets on a bike. Water is a necessity of life. Driving better when drunk. I've heard that ridiculous statement more times than I should. I'm so nervous when I'm drinking and driving, it makes me focus more, so I'm a better driver. I've heard that a number of times. That's the thing, drunk and drowsy driving. You may not be so impaired that you are swerving or losing control, but your reaction time is slower. You lose your ability to drive defensively. So if another car swerves towards you, you won't be able to dodge it in time. Yep, it's like playing video games when you're tired. You don't become incompetent, but you do get potato reflexes. I'm an alpha, sure thing. Big guy. You're so alpha you had to get a shirt that said it too. I have a coworker who refers to himself as a beta male and says he wishes he was an alpha male. He's always talking about it. He's 5 feet tall and says if he was taller, he would be an alpha male. It's so cringy. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. Saying it's like in a land of sheep I'm the wolf. Sure thing. Dude, a lion doesn't have to tell you it's a lion. If a lion tells you it's a lion, it's a lion. If a lion tells you it's a lion, you're high. Not being able to cook. I keep hearing people bragging about how the only thing they can do is boil water. Edit. I come from a conservative background where people still have gender roles. So women brag they can't cook to show that they are the exception and men brag to establish the traditional patriarchal role. I didn't misunderstand self-deprecating humor / sarcasm / joke for a brag. All I can do is boil water. But it's not a brag. It's a cry for help. After you boil the water, try adding some pasta. That's the one dish I can make. Spaghetti and sauce from a jar. Just follow a recipe and you'll be good. Nothing surprises me more than when people are proud of their ignorance. Knowledge is no guarantee of wisdom, but prideful ignorance is proof of its absence. To know is not to be wise. Many men know a great deal, and are all the greater fools for it. There is no fool so great a fool as a knowing fool, but to know how to use knowledge is to have wisdom. Charles Haddon Spurgeon. It is easier to fool someone than it is to convince them they have been fooled. Samuel Clemens. If this isn't the truest thread. When they say that's just how I'm, especially when it could hurt themselves or others. Similarly, that's how I was raised. Maybe your parents sucked at parenting, and you should stop following what they taught you. My dad is the effing poster child for this. He will swear all day that he isn't racist, but anytime he is just in the company of the people he knows and refers to a black person, they are always that N boy or that N woman. It is other races as well. Any Asian he refers to as fish heads, and literally any Middle Eastern person is a dot head. He dropped out of high school in 9th grade and is now in his 50s with a body that is failing on him from doing home remodeling work his entire life and smoking for 40 years. I hate to talk about him because he is my father and got me out of a really bad place when I was a teen. But I really don't see where his superiority complex comes from. Anytime he is confronted about it, it's always I'm just too stuck in my ways. I love him to pieces, but he makes it difficult to. Someone once bragged to me, like thumbs and suspenders level bragging. His new girlfriend's dad owned a used car lot and he got an awesome interest rate on his new, to him, truck. His rate was 24%. His new girlfriend's dad doesn't like him very much. Correction. Her dad loved him. Cha-ching. Plot twist. She's in on it. A week later she'll have another new boyfriend who will get another awesome interest rate on a new to them truck and another fat commission. Editor 2. My top comment ever is about being set up by an ex. Is this why I can never hold a long-term relationship? I once got tricked by this beautiful blonde farmer girl who I thought might be the love of my life. Turns out her father was trying to get me to pay for half a tractor. On my paper salesman salary it would bankrupt me. I'm fierce. I don't hold back. I tell it how it is, i.e., I have no sense of diplomacy or tact. I always think of the phrase, people who are brutally honest care more about the brutality than the honesty. There are two types of brutally honest people. First are the people that are actually brutally honest, but generally only to people they care about, and after there's developed some understanding that you prefer not to sugarcoat things when it's not needed. These people don't go out of their ways to tell people they are brutally honest, and they also don't go out of their way to be brutally honest when it's unsolicited and unnecessary. The second are people that aren't even honest and are just assholes and use that as an excuse to be an asshole. These people will tell you they're brutally honest quicker than you'd find out a crossfitting vegan likes to eat spinach after tossing a kettlebell around. Another term to use, thoroughly honest. Don't sugarcoat things, but don't be ugly about things either. If you really have to be honest about something, then tell the truth. The whole truth. And nothing but the truth. Anything else either isn't honest or isn't kind. I worked with a guy who, otherwise very smart, was extremely proud of the fact that he could remove the foil from the neck of a wine bottle without cutting it. He brought it up so many times I lost count. I just let him have it, though. because he seemed to need it. Of all the things in this thread, this is the most reasonable thing to be proud of. Yeah, I was gonna say, if someone did this quickly for me, I would be impressed. Am I missing something? They just pull off. I've had mixed results myself. Some come right off. Some, I swear, are glued on to make me look like a jackass. I overheard a coworker recently brag to a girl that he'd already had COVID 3 times, and during his most recent bout, he went to the gym every day, that he had it. That s killed my dad. But no, you're a total badass, because you didn't skip leg day and decided to spread your germs all over the place. What a douchebag. How little sleep they're getting by on this, and reminds me of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is dumb. You definitely need to avoid such things and cultivate a life that can be easier. What doesn't kill you usually succeeds in a second attempt. Eugene Krabs. What doesn't kill should make you aware you were being an idiot. Being bad with computers. People wear it as a badge of honor, and I find it so frustrating. A. Most people know more than they realize. B. Making even a bit of time to learn how to use them can make a big difference for most people. My mom is a nurse. She has been fired from her hospital for refusing to do electronic charting. She isn't working and tells everyone who asks that they fired me because I don't know how to work a computer. Can you believe how ridiculous that is? If your computer skills are so dismal that a hospital fires a nurse of 32 years, it must be bad. My grandma's primary doctor very proudly refused to do electronic charting. Everything by paper. In her office that was closed 3 days a week. My grandma liked her and believed her about all the dangers of electronic charting and record keeping. Up until my grandma ended up in the hospital in an emergency, and my cousin didn't know all her medications and they weren't accessible because they were all in a filing cabinet across town. Luckily that doctor has retired and her new doctor keeps everything electronically, and my mom has access to the charts on the app. Not reading. TL. Doctor. Riyadh. I had to read it twice. Damn you. Swearing loyalty to a fucking politician or some rich p lol. Idolizing a politician is like believing a stripper likes you. Working 70 hours and making a post about it. You're doing it wrong. Dude. Yes. Don't you just love working your off for money that you can't even use due to constantly being at work? I work 70 hours a week to afford rent and groceries. I doubt you brag about being a hustler on the grind though. People will always do what they think they need to do, which makes perfect sense. It just sucks that you need to working so hard. It gets in the way of their personal life and well-being. I missed my kid's graduation. I was too busy finishing a report. I've been so busy. I haven't slept in 3 days. I start so early and leave so late. I haven't felt direct sunlight in months. None of it makes me think, wow, you're such a dedicated worker. It makes me think you're a tool with terrible time management, sacrificing your life for a company that doesn't care about you. From a managerial standpoint, I think more highly of workers who can get their work done in 8 hours, 5 days a week. That's as efficient. The ones who work themselves to the ground quickly reach a point where their per hour work yield plummets, and the work they are accomplishing isn't done right because they are such a mess. Early COVID was a blessing for me and my family. My son passed away a month ago due to complications from muscular dystrophy, but I was able to stay home for a year and a half, just being dad and loving every minute of it. I could have made a little more money had I worked, but for an extra 100 to 200 a week, it just wasn't worth it to me. My mom kept telling me that I should be looking for work. I had 2 jobs that I could easily step back into if I needed money. But I knew that COVID was my chance to spend time with my son that I'd never get back. Back in February, he went to the hospital after stopping breathing at home and coding once there, and I stopped working to be there with him for a month and a half. This hurt financially, and I'm barely hanging on right now, just starting to eke my way out of being broke. I started taking jobs again after we left the hospital and came home. And I got a message from my wife that he said he wanted to go to heaven one day at the end of my workday. I raced home and we went to the hospital again, eventually going to hospice so he could go comfortable surrounded by family, and I took more time off. I don't care where I'm in life. I will never say that I should have worked more during that time. I was where I needed to be, and that time with my son was truly a gift. Even if it came during a pandemic. Hugs to you. And sorry for your loss. Thank you. There's 0.5% ancestry of whatever sounds cool. I don't brag about it, but I'm curious where the 5% Mongolian came from in a family of European descent. My parents and my sisters have none of that. Like, where did it come from? Genghis Khan has entered the chat. Not reading. Anytime a book was made into a movie, he'd always proudly say he doesn't read books. He did this for a while until a romantic interest of his told him that's really sad, and you shouldn't be proud of that. He'd changed his ways, and now loves reading. It's very odd to be proud of not reading. Exactly. And people wear it as a badge, and say "oh, I'm not a nerd." And I'm like, you don't have to be a nerd to read. And it's no chore. People annoy me when they say that. Then again, people annoy me with a lot of things. How much money their parents make. How everything triggers their self-diagnosed OCD. That version of OCD where instead of having obsessive compulsions they are just a quirky neat freak. My last boss was great in many ways, but nitpicked and micromanaged in many more. But always said it's my OCD. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Like, no Brenda. You're a control freak and you can help it. You choose to make up a mental illness diagnosis instead at the cost of my mental well-being. Likely, yes. She's just being that way on purpose. But it's also possible that she has OCPD, which is very much about perfectionism, nitpicking, and imposing order on things and or people. My dad likes to brag that he's never once changed a baby's nappy. He has 3 kids. Well, go you for being a res father and husband. My dad and stepmom had an agreement. He didn't have to change diapers, 1 kid, but she never had to mess with any kind of toilet again. Ever. Not just fixing the home toilet, but never emptying or cleaning the compositing toilet at the camp, in the boat, RVs, whatever. Honestly, I think she made the right choice. Kid's 20 now, and my dad still has to deal with shit. She so won that agreement. I used to work in a daycare and there are few diapers that make a lasting imprint on my day. But composting toilets. If you play your cards right earlier on, you too can get early toilet duty retirement. Parents who think their 5-year-old is smart for being able to play on an iPad. Oh no, this is me. I was so proud when my cat started playing fish games on the iPad. Edit. I will be less proud and broke when she starts buying the in-game items. A cat buying things is way more impressive than a cat catching fish. Their followers on social media. Honestly, I can understand this if you produce content like comics, blog articles, cartoons, etc. It feels good if something you make gets appreciated. I recently started a Tumblr blog about obscure mythological creatures and it's genuinely great when followers compliment you on something that took a lot of hard work to write and research. Edit. Since several people have asked, the blog is on Bestiarium. Tumblr.com https://Bestiarium. Tumblr.com. If you want to check it out. Shoot, even some YouTubers and TikTokers make some awesome content. And I'm happy when those types of people gain some traction. But the ones who are just trying to be the next Kardashian or fucking pranksters are just awful. How long it's been since they read a book. 1. How little sleep they got. 2. What an outrageous amount of coffee they drink. 3. Black coffee for some reason. 4. Putting in an unhealthy amount of hours into work. Coming from a workaholic myself. 5. With my fellow stoners specifically, how much weed they consume in a day. Tolerance is a bitch. Not a point of pride. Yeah, I slept 2 hours, but I get by on my 15 cups of black coffee at my job, where I work night shifts and do weed all night. Being rich through inheriting money, they always seem to just speedrun to feeling pride around it, as if they earned it. I know someone like this. He bounces from job to job because he has problems with authority. But he doesn't care because his mom always pays for everything. What's worse is that he treats his mom like shit. Their exclusive taste in music/film/games/etc. Especially if their favorite film is Joker or Fight Club. These films may be good, but liking them does not make you unique and better than anyone else. Calm down. Please. Lol edit. It's perfectly okay to like really unpopular stuff. But instead of building your personality around being not like everyone else, you can just share the things you like with others and maybe others will like them too, and you will have more people to talk about it. It's not okay only if you start thinking liking things that have not so many fans somehow makes you more smart and intelligent than the other people, especially if their favorite film is Joker or Fight Club. Oh man. He's literally me. Apostrophe. Dude, you heard of the snitch show called Rick and Morty? Oh man. That dude's my hero. Apostrophe. Obsessing over celebrities. They are just people. An offshoot of this is people who are proud of being blasé about meeting celebrities because they are just people and I treat them like anyone else. And then they take every opportunity to tell everyone they know how totally normal they acted that time they met Namadrop McNamadrippy. That they cheated lol. Yeeted them out of my life. Yep. That's hard not to lose faith in humanity meeting people like that. Everyone was a star athlete in high school until they tore their ACL. I was going to go pro until I tore my hymen. Apostrophe. Being brutally honest. Most people I know who do this aren't telling anyone anything they didn't already know. It's just an excuse to be unnecessarily mean and cruel. People who are brutally honest tend to be more interested in the brutality than the honesty. At least. That's been my experience. People who romanticize mental illness. How much they have suffered from their kids. Kind of on the same note. But also how some mothers judge other mothers because they had a cesarean birth. Apparently, you're seen as less of a mother because you didn't give birth naturally. I just don't understand. It's no one else's business how you gave birth. Yeah. The C-section one I don't get. If it wasn't for that procedure, I would have neither a wife nor a son. My wife had our first son the night before last, and if it wasn't for an emergency C-section, she'd be dead. I would have lost my best friend of over half my life and I would have lost all faith in everything. If someone ever has the audacity to belittle her for something that saved her and my son's life, they'll be getting an earful. That's for damn sure. I know it's only been a little over a year, but I still cry when I think about our son's birth. Thank God for modern medicine. For both our sakes, man. Rolling coal in jacked up pickups. Hustle and grind culture. Working yourself to death is never the flex you think it is. The biggest flex is free time. I tell my boss that I'm never interested in overtime because no one amount of money is more valuable than the free time I have to spend with my kids after my normal working hours. I do not want extra pay for holidays. Just comp days off. Their karma on Reddit. I don't quite understand why karma is so important to some people. To this day I have never looked to see what someone's karma is. Someone was making fun of one of my posts for being downvoted once. I have still not found out how that affects me online or offline. I take care of my kids. Chris Rock, you're supposed to, you fucking idiot. Yeah, but there's still a common conception that the dad only steps in to babysit and that the mother is the main caregiver. That's why a lot of guys seem proud of being more involved. A guy bragging about being involved is not as unimpressive as those guys that say things like I never changed a diaper. Despise those guys. I get it if you and your spouse have established certain responsibilities. But if you are proud of how useless you are in the home, I won't have any respect for you in other aspects of your life. My dad didn't change diapers, but he worked 2 to 3 jobs and you can bet it wasn't something he thought was beneath him. It drives me up the damn wall to hear that. There is only one thing my wife does exclusively, and that's put our toddler down for a nap. Not from my refusal to do so, but more my wife is literally the only person on this planet he will lay down and take a nap for. It's like her superpower. It has been this way since he was born. My mill can't put him down for a nap either. So if I ever brag about it, it's more me talking up my wife's amazing mom skills than anything. I can put the little rascal to bed at night no issue. But to try and nap? PFFFD. It's playtime for him. When a comment blows up and is edited with edit, oh my god. This blew up. Thanks guys. Edit, oh my god. This blew up. Thanks guys. RIP my inbox. Apostrophe. how much alcohol they can drink. Alcohol is fun to drink. Why is being able to do more fun stuff impressive? I'm more impressed by alcoholics who don't drink. One's willpower, the other's just a lack of inhibition. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people were impressed with how much I was able to drink, and it was almost a source of pride for me. But people are now even more impressed with my almost 4 years of sobriety. And I take far more pride in that. Close bracket. How much worse they had it than someone else. I get it, you've come out of a bad spot. But you can't value your own problems as significantly more important than everybody else's. I had a moment where no one wanted to confess or share past traumas cause one guy said he genuinely thinks he had it the worst and no one else's childhood can come close to as how bad his was. And whenever someone did bring up a trauma he'd dismiss it by saying that's not really that bad. Or by saying, if that happened to me, I wouldn't really care. Look up the back quote for Yorkshire and Monty Python skit on it, you'll enjoy it. Winning something by destroying another person. It's not so much idiotic as it is sickening. My friend is extremely proud that he can pop bottle caps with his teeth. He doesn't find it ironic that he is now missing his top driver side front tooth and still brags to people about his trick. We are all waiting for him to pop his second top tooth out. In fact, he doesn't know it, but we started a pool about when it will happen, and the person with the winning 3-month period will get around $200. I can eat Doritos vertically without getting hurt. This one is valid. Their self-diagnosed mental illness. Sometimes I'm happy. Sometimes I'm sad. I'm totally bipolar. There are some bad things in the world I really don't care all that much about. I'm a complete psychopath. I don't like it when strangers shout at me, or I'm being buffeted in a jostling crowd and I get nervous in job interviews, or if I have to speak in public, or if I'm being held at gunpoint by a kidnapper. I have anxiety. I simply can't put up with a dead pig laying in the middle of my carpet. I need it cleared away. I'm OCD. Things that are the result of genetics, not effort. Height comes to mind first. Parents who say I raised my kids, pay all the bills, and put a roof over their heads. Dude, that's what you're supposed to do. People who say stuff like that are typically the ones who are not good parents. They may fulfill their child's basic requirements, but they are terrible in other areas like caring for their child's emotional needs, being a good listener, supporting them in extracurricular activities, being a positive role model, etc. People, particularly girls, who brag about being mean and making it their personality. I'm just spicy. Their zodiac. I don't care what balls of burning gas currently were visible when you were born. I bet you're a Libra. That's such a Libra thing to say. And if you're not a Libra then you're at least a Libra ascending. Mercury transgressing. In the quarter half twist moon rising. Close bracket. A Libra ascending. Mercury transgressing. In the quarter half twist moon rising. This sounds like a skateboard trick that won somebody an X Games event in 1998. I have a coworker who's always proud of how drunk she was and how she doesn't remember driving back home. Stupid. How fucking loud their cars are. I thought this said cats. And I was like, that's kinda impressive. Lol. The number of fights they've been in. Congratulations on not being able to walk away from a situation like an adult, I guess. Being bad at math. People are proud about this. I'm not good at math either, but it's not something that boosts my ego by telling people how many hours they work. It's always for jobs that don't pay the greatest too. In my opinion, if you're working 90 hours a week you need a serious promotion and a salary well over 200k, or a new employer. When people say that they haven't ever changed a diaper, but have multiple kids, like thanks for telling me you're a trash parent and partner. Professors on how most of their students don't pass their exams. Ugh. Fucking beards. Should note, beard owner. But beard as personality is the worst. Anything as a personality kills me. The other big one of course being smoking weed as your personality. Hey, I smoke weed sometimes too. But the fact that your entire life and personality revolves around is really pretty pathetic. I can't stand people who use it as a personality trait. But also I'd say voluntary consumption of anything shouldn't be considered a personality trait. Whether it be drugs, sugar, media, or something else. Personality should be what you do, not what you consume. TikTok followers and ape NFTs collection. Social media followers. Who gives a shit? Edit. People who post themselves on social media drinking alcohol. Again. Who gives a shit? Dude, but my 7 Reddit followers. Being an influencer. People who put their empty liquor bottles on a shelf as a trophy. Parents who brag about how they don't conform to their baby's schedule, but instead make the baby conform to theirs. Specifically talking about parents who consistently drag their tired ass, cranky, baby all over hell and gone, rather than just stay home for a couple hours to let it sleep. I can /t stand people who drag tired babies and toddlers to events they don't need to go to. It is 10 PM, your 2-year-old is sobbing from exhaustion and the loud noises. Take them home.